Hello and welcome aboard. I'm Jack Yeager, and in this episode we're going to be talking a little bit more about sail trim. Now, in order to understand sail trim fully, we need to ask ourselves a question. What makes upwind sail travel possible? The answer to that question is Bernoulli's principle. Now, our good friend Mr. Bernoulli came up with an equation that stated P1 plus 1/2 PV squared plus PGH equals P2 plus 1/2 PV2 squared plus PGH2. This is all kind of a fancy way of saying that as the velocity of a fluid increases, the pressure of that fluid is going to decrease. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Jack, what does this have to do with sailing? If we look at a cross section of a sail, kind of like a bird's eye view, we're going to be able to see air flowing over the windward and the leeward side of the sail. Now, I would like for you to think of that air as being made up of a bunch of little tiny particles. Now, because the air over the leeward side of the sail has a farther distance to travel, that air is going to be flowing relatively more quickly than the air over the windward side of the sail. Let's take another look at a freeze frame of those air particles. You can see that the air on the windward side of the sail is tightly banded together, and the air on the leeward side of the sail is more spread out. Now, during COVID times, it's perfectly natural for a tight group of people to want to move out to where there's space. Air pressure does the exact same thing. A high pressure is going to move towards a low pressure. Because of this, our sails are producing lift, which is actually pulling us upwind. Now, the critical factor in making this work is that we have smooth air flowing over both sides of the sail. Next, let's take a look at what happens when we introduce a head sail into the equation. When sailing under main alone, oftentimes what happens is the wind on the leeward side of the main can become detached and turbulent right behind the leach of the sail. If we pull out a jib, however, all of that air is going to be funneled through a slot behind the main, and it's going to give us smooth, efficient airflow. The other thing that the jib is going to do is it's going to be funneling more air through a narrower gap. Now, I'd like you to think about putting your thumb over the end of a garden hose and how that water comes out more quickly. Well, the same exact thing is happening behind our main right now. And as we stated before, air that's flowing more quickly is going to have a lower pressure. So our jib is giving us a twofer. It's giving us 1, additional sail area, and 2, a more powerful main. One thing to be careful of with the jib, however, is if you trim that jib in too tightly, then that's going to close off the slot between the jib and the main, and it's going to pump air directly into the backside of the main, causing the main to backwind or luff. This is not efficient. You're not going to get good propulsion. So in that case, you're going to need to ease your jib back out just a little bit. Thank you so much for watching. And for a better idea of how to physically manipulate your draft, angle of attack, and twist, please consider watching some more of my videos.